Remember when Disney movies were good? Well, today we're going to rate how good they really were. We're finally doing it, the Disney animated tier list. Granted, there are a lot of animated movies, so I'm not going to be able to get through all of them in this one video. I'm also not going to include anthology films or animation hybrid films, because I think the animation hybrids probably deserve their own category, and the anthology, while they are good, they are different stories that I think probably should be rated per anthology story, you know? And that's just too complicated for this list. So without further ado, let's get to rating. First Disney movie ever created, Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. Now you already know, if you've watched my full video, like nostalgic review I guess it was, of this movie, you should know that I love it. I see it as an absolute masterpiece. They went through so much effort just to get it out there in the first place. And, you know, people always talk shit on Disney princesses, and Snow White is one of them that they always talk trash on. I actually viewed her as a very strong character in this movie. It was like, if you think about it, she went through so much crap, and yet she still like really tried to look on the bright side of things and really be happy. I mean, her own mother tried to kill her, guys, and she was abandoned, lucky to even be alive. She found a place to live, agreed to work there in order to like earn her keep. You could look at this in a very depressing light, but she was looking at it through the bright side, and you know what? That takes a lot of willpower and strength to be able to do that. Fuck yeah, Snow White is going straight up there in S tier. Don't even at me. Next we have Pinocchio, and you should know by now that Pinocchio is one of my favorite Disney movies, if not my favorite. Let me tell you, adventure stories, they are hard to adapt into one movie, and I think that they really did a great job with Pinocchio in adapting all these different adventures into one movie. I'm also kind of a fan of movies that have like moral lessons in them. And of course, the animation was top notch. I mean, this was the most expensive animated film of its time. So I don't see how I could possibly put it anywhere else, but right up there, right in the S tier, that's where it belongs. Next we have Dumbo. My mother told me that this was the first Disney movie that she ever cried while watching. We rewatched it together in more recent years and she cried all over again. It is a very wholesome story. Probably the first one I watched that was really about bullying, and it has a really nice happy ending, you know? Like a lot of animated stuff, even like animated stuff from Disney, they kind of show circuses as being very bad places for animals to be. Even in Dumbo, they kind of show the circus as not being the best, although they show them in a more positive light in this movie, and like I said, it has a nice wholesome ending where Dumbo actually becomes a big shot in the circus and he's able to make his life better for himself and his mother. So it's very nice. Now I wouldn't rate it higher just because it made me cry or because it was sadder in some scenes than maybe other Disney movies were. So I'm probably gonna put it right here at the A tier. It didn't blow me away or anything, but it's still very good movie. And then we have Bambi. Bambi is a simple movie, but it is a very cute movie. There's a lot of really great things that they do with the visuals in this movie, especially the fight scene where like all these different colors are flashing and they're in silhouette, and I always thought that was super cool. I like color changes based on mood, which is why I always do that in my comic books. I feel like it's really weird if the color to the background is always the same. My advice, you should change it based on mood. And I guess that's something that I might have learned at an early age while watching Bambi. And all that people seem to remember about it is that Bambi's mom dies. There is like some warning about hunting, and that's kind of the message behind Bambi, how you gotta be mindful of the environment. You know, the hunters are the villains, I guess, in this movie, because they shot a mother deer, which is kind of unusual. Usually the hunters don't go for like female mother deers or baby deers. They want the buck. It's like proper etiquette that that's the deer you're supposed to shoot, is the male deer. And then they also don't properly put out their campfire. Smokey the Bear would be very upset at them. You know, I really adore Bambi for those visual effects, but I'm not exactly sure if it did anything to blow me away per se. I would even say maybe it blew me away less than Dumbo did. You know what, yeah, let's put it in B tier for now. Maybe I'll change my mind later, but for now, I'll say B tier. Cinderella, oh boy, another one of those movies where you got all these modern day feminists complaining that she didn't save herself. Yeah, you didn't save yourself from your abusive family. Like, because she's a woman, she has to achieve more than a male child would. She has to save herself. In a way, I kind of see Cinderella's story a bit similar to like Harry Potter's story. You know, they're both orphaned kids who have to live with an abusive family. They're saved by magic, but it's like wish fulfillment. Both of them are about poor kids, or I guess teenagers in this case, who are at a bad place in life, and you wish that things will get better. You wish that something magical will happen, some kind of miracle will happen. You'll meet your prince and he'll take you away. She did try to like achieve going to the ball on her own. Not only were her efforts in vain in the movie because, you know, she had her dress torn apart, but it's also like in vain from the modern feminist point of view because, oh, she didn't save herself. She didn't succeed in going to the ball on her own, so therefore, bad character. But I shouldn't let their dumb point of view influence me when it comes to whether or not this was a good movie. A tier. Next we have Alice in Wonderland. She wakes up and it was all a dream. I don't like that. I don't like that in movies. But I do have to say, like, when I was a kid, of course, this movie blew me the fuck away. I know that, you know, some adults are gonna be like, oh, it was actually about taking acid. But I think the ideas of actually having a normal girl be in this, like, wonderland of a place where nothing makes sense, and her trying to find her way back to her home, that's all good ideas. And it gave these Disney animators all this ability to be creative and to just do all this wacky, crazy stuff that you wouldn't be able to do in a movie that didn't take place in this wonderland or didn't take place in this dream, I guess it was. I kind of hate that she wakes up and it was all a dream, but this movie is a ton of fun to watch, and I'm sure it was a lot of fun to make, but I can't in good faith put it in S tier. And I'm not sure, I mean, she wakes up and it was all a dream. It's gotta be B tier. Next we have Peter Pan. I have some hot takes on this one. Look at this beautiful shot right here. Doesn't it look like Peter and Wendy are love interests? And in some adaptations of Peter Pan, they are supposed to be love interests. But in this movie, they wanted it to be more so like Wendy has an unrequited crush on Peter, and Peter has some bug up his butt. Like, he is so mean in this movie, and I don't get it. Like, they make it pretty clear, in the Disney version at least, that they wanted to make it so that Peter does not like Wendy in that way. He, like, makes out with Tiger Lily, but he won't make out with her. It's like, damn, dude. She's, like, getting drowned by mermaids, and he's laughing his ass off. And then when she tries to defend herself, he's like, whoa, Wendy, you're a bad person. How could you? I don't know what Disney was going for by making Peter so mean in this movie. When I was a kid, I thought that it made sense that Peter was so mean because all boys are mean. That's what you think when you're a kid anyway, and you're a girl, you just think, oh yeah, all boys are mean, of course Peter's a mean person. Then you also had the whole deal with Tinkerbell, and she probably would have been better if you kept the same redemption arc that she had in like the original play where she gives up her life to save Peter. That wasn't really in this version. I liked this movie when I was a kid, so I don't like being so critical of it as an adult, but I gotta be, because like I said, there are problems. And if I'm going to be rating this on a tier list, knowing that there's like better Peter Pans out there than the Disney movie, and that the only thing that's really keeping this up is the animation, which is fantastic, and I guess the music, of course. Might be tempted to put it in C tier. I liked Bambi and Alice better than Peter, but once again, it's like that whole thing like I talked about before, where they're like in this really cool fantasy adventure land. I really like that. I can watch other movies in which they do that same concept better. You know what, I'm sorry. Maybe I'll change my mind later, but for now, I'm gonna say C tier. That's what you get for being a dick, Peter. Lady and the Tramp. This is another really cute movie, but I would say that it's much cuter than Bambi because they're dogs. I just find dog humor like that much cuter and I guess relatable because, you know, we have pet dogs, we don't have pet deer. Although I always see deer around because now I live on a mountain. But then you also get this romance, of course, between her and the Tramp. It's kind of mature, I guess, for a kid's film to have her be in love with someone who's known for being a whore. But I think that they overall did it pretty well. The ending was definitely rushed, but he like earns it. He earns being a part of the family by saving the baby at the end. The aunt character, I think she was an aunt or somebody's sister or something. You know, she was really mean to Lady. At the end, they also kind of try to redeem her after she finds out that Lady and Tramp were saving the baby. She like sends her treats or something. Some mention of her like sending Lady a present. And, you know, that's nice. It's nice. It's nice stuff. I like this movie. When I was a kid, I didn't like it as much as maybe the other movies, but I think maybe that's just because a lot of the humor might have gone over my head. I think I'm putting this in an A tier. Mostly I'm putting it in an A tier because I feel like it's a little bit underrated as far as Disney movies go. People don't really, they don't really care that much about Lady and the Tramp. And you know what? That's a mistake, because it's a really, really good film. Next, Sleeping Beauty. I mean, people refer to it as a classic story of a guy who saves princess from dragon, of course. But this is really the only Disney movie where the guy fights a freaking dragon. And it's really cool. Like, the villainness in this movie is just genuinely really cool. But once again, you know, it's another feminist got to complain about it because the girl doesn't save herself. And I will say they could have done a little bit better with Aurora's character in this movie. But I mean, I absolutely love her design. She's so fucking pretty. Look at this shit. The art style. Some people think that Disney princess movies all have the same art style. This has a very distinctive art style that I always like to point out. I mean, you got like her beautiful curly locks, big sleeves, and look at the background. The backgrounds are also pretty differently stylized in this movie, and if you don't pay attention to that type of stuff, you're going to miss it. How detailed this fucking tree is. But I mean, guy fights a dragon to save the princess. It's gotta be S tier. Let's be real here. This was super awesome. As far as Disney movies go, this was pretty epic. For those of you criticizing me, I'd just like for you to take a look at this tier list so far. Most of them are really high up, okay? I'm sorry if I put your specific favorite Disney movie lower down. Just keep in mind, my opinions. This is my video. 101 Dalmatians. Another cute one, of course. I don't know if I would say that it's as cute as Lady and the Tramp, though. But it is, like, super charming. I love the ending where they're like, yeah, we'll have a Dalmatian plantation. That's something that they kind of referenced in the we're not going to talk about the live action movie, but that is something that they kind of referenced at the end of the live action movie, where they literally get a Dalmatian plantation. For me, I'm gonna say that this is in the B tier. I almost said C. The only one in C right now is Peter Pan. My bias is showing. Next one, The Sword and the Stone. This is an interesting one. I don't know if I would call it an adventure film per se, because a lot of it feels really episodic. Like, it feels like low-stake adventures. Most of it is just Arthur and Merlin transforming into animals and fucking around, which, of course, I loved as a kid. Merlin was really great, and, you know, they were actually trying to make it educational, and they taught some lessons. But him actually pulling the sword out of the stone and becoming king was a very small portion of the film. And before that, he gets into some kind of fight with Merlin. It feels really undeserved, but, you know, Merlin gets all pissy and just leaves. And then when he becomes king, all of a sudden Merlin comes back. There's no reference to that fight that they had. There's no reference to Merlin being all mad at Arthur. We just forget all of that. Instead, he's just like, oh, you're king now. All is forgiven. You know, he's scared. He doesn't want to be king. And the movie just kind of ends there with Merlin coming back, and the idea is Merlin's going to help him be king, and, you know, he's not going to do this alone, which isn't that bad. I just feel like there should have been more than that, you know? There should have just been a little bit more than Merlin coming back. You know, maybe they should have talked about whatever fight that they had. The ending definitely, like, makes this lose points. I might have even put this at, like, an A, S tier. But I don't know. I don't know where to put this, because I did really enjoy the movie. I know it's definitely not S tier. That ending does not deserve S tier. It was not nearly as wrapped up of an ending as, like, all these other S tier movies. Does it really deserve B tier down here? Not that I didn't enjoy these movies, but I'm not sure if it's the same level as these movies. I feel like it might be a little bit better. You know, out of my own personal bias, I'm gonna put it at A tier. Once again, maybe that's something I'll change later on. This video is getting a little bit long already, so the last one we're gonna cover is The Jungle Book. Very basic plot, you know, tiger is gonna come after Mowgli, so they have to bring him back to the human village so that he can continue to live and be safe. And he's like, no, I want to stay in the jungle. And then he's like, no, you can't stay in the jungle. And then Baloo is like, you can stay in the jungle with me. I always wanted a son. It does deviate from the source material a bit. People mention that all the time. So, somebody told me that the live action remake they did was a little bit more in line with the original source material. I've not seen the live action remake. One of the only live action remakes that I heard was actually good. But I will say the ending was completely fabricated from what I remember when I was learning about this movie. They didn't know how to necessarily wrap it up, and Walt Disney made a suggestion like, oh, maybe he meets a girl in the village and falls in love, and then he decides, you know what, I should be with other humans, because then I can fuck. And nobody was really into that idea, but after Walt Disney passed away, they decided, oh, we'll go with the ending that Disney wanted, because, you know, in honor of him. And you know what, Mowgli deserves some girl puss. He's not really a favorite of mine personally, but it is a good movie. I think I would probably put it in B tier or C tier, but Mowgli isn't a dick like Peter, so I'll be more generous with him. So that is my tier list so far of the Disney animated movies. I realize that a lot of these you are going to disagree with. And you know, maybe you can convince me to bump certain things up or bump certain things down, but I really need convincing. So put down in the comments section your own reasoning for why things should go further up or further down. Even list your own tier list if you have your own opinions. And if you enjoyed this video, if you want to see me cover more Disney movies, I'll continue the list. And all you have to do is let me know if you enjoyed my analyses of the movies, my very quick mini reviews. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. Till then, bye!
Program restart.